You cannot machine this. You can't hand make this knife. This is 3D printed titanium. This fixed blade right here, it doesn't need a sheath. It is the sheath. And this is a titanium pry bar and a sheath. Yeah, you didn't see that one coming, did you? After owning thousands, literally thousands of pocket knives and hundreds of multi-tools, hundreds of flashlights and everything else in between, it all gets a little bit stale over time. Every new one is a little bit less impressive than the one before it. But every so often, along comes a piece of gear that makes you double take and say, what the hell was that? Those are the sort of things that get me excited about gear again, and I have a few of them to share with you today, so let's do the damn thing. I want to start with something I definitely know you guys have heard me talk about before, especially if you've watched the channel and seen any of my videos on fixed blades. UG Tools. They are out of Germany and they make 3D printed titanium handled knives. They use magna cut steel, not exclusively, but I would say primarily. They push it to 65 HRC. They've done some tests showing how impressively strong these knives are. DBK also did a torture test on this knife right here and could not break it. They even batoned the handle through wood. Like, it opens the door for a lot of things, having an all metal knife, and it's still like right around 2.3 ounces. I believe it's very, very lightweight. It's really only when somebody grabs it and gets it in their hand, they're like, oh wow, that's crazy. You can do so many really cool designs in the handle. This is the Pango. This is their flow design, F-L-O-E. You can contour the handle however you want. Some people in a recent video where I was talking about these knives were talking about how a metal handled knife, especially working in the cold, is a bad idea. But titanium in particular actually stays fairly warm in your hand. It's really, really bizarre. But the thing that really opens up when you go to a 3D printed design like this is the things that you can't do with traditional machining. So a really great example, this is their French fry fork. It's just a little spork or fork that goes on your keychain. This one has a bottle opener. There's one that also has a spoon. The way that this fits inside this sheath could not be machined. The only way to make the sheath work like this and have this kind of retention is to 3D print it. And this is a kind of a silly example, but I think we're just scratching the surface of the things we can do by implementing things like 3D printed titanium into the production of knives. If we take a look at this knife, this is the big knife. This is the Unity, actually has a storage capsule in the handle of the knife. You can actually see a U-channel here too. There's two holes, or actually a U-channel for a lanyard, just like you see on the Tiny. They can do some really cool stuff with the 3D printing that makes it a lot more simple than machining. It's not that you can't do some of these things with machining, but the way that they're able to do it by printing it makes it way easier than machining. And we have this little thing. This thing's really cool too. This is actually a knife sharpener. If you unscrew this side, well, there went the lanyard part. You have a ruby dust cylinder here that acts very similar to ceramic. You also have an angle guide right here, but the really cool part is actually when you pair this with this, and you can put your knife sharpener in the handle of your knife. How freaking cool is that? I think we've just scratched the surface of what's possible with 3D printing in knife making. Like, this very intricate handle could be machined. You could do this, but you could not do it with the efficiency of printing. And it's very, very lightweight. It's hollow, but it's still very strong. Making a handle like this and machining it would be almost impossible, especially it being hollowed out and these contours and stuff. It is hard not to get excited about titanium 3D printing, especially in the knife world. Another knife that I've definitely shown you before and talked about here on the channel is the TiRant Ultra. And what's really cool about this is that it has replaceable blades. That's not entirely unique because of things like the Milwaukee Fastback, right? You can get a replaceable blade knife, just like a utility knife, for cheap basically everywhere. However, this one comes with a utility blade insert if you would like to run it like a utility blade. Very, very straightforward. However, if you want to keep this same knife, you can just push this. This is another cam system. Pop this blade in, and now you have a folding knife with a D2 blade. These inserts cost about $9. So here is a scenario for you. You're at work, your knife gets dull, and you need to keep working. You could literally just pop this out and throw in another blade. That simple, that quick. You have a sharp blade ready to go. Or if you're gonna be tearing down boxes, you could just pop this in, so you're not gonna be ruining or dulling one of these blades. You have something that's quick and replaceable. Also, it comes with a full set of spare hardware too. So over time, this lock bar insert might wear out. You can actually just put a new lock bar insert in it. So this thing, ideally, is just endlessly repairable and serviceable. It's not to say that like a normal knife won't last a lifetime if you take care of it and don't flick it open 900 times a day, but just the idea of being able to swap for a sharp blade that costs you $9, you could have just a stockpile of blades. And it's not that this hasn't been done before, but it has not been done this well and this seamlessly. And these start not with a skeletonized blade, but just your standard one starts at just 170 bucks. Which is not the cheapest knife in the world, but for something that you could use indefinitely with replaceable blades, it's very, very compelling, and it definitely moved the needle for me. It's a really cool concept, and it's done really well. Really quickly, I need to thank our channel sponsors who make all of this possible. I also want to thank you for watching this video. If you haven't, you should like it and subscribe, but also just thank you for your support by watching this video. I also want to thank Worksharp for being a channel sponsor. They make amazing knife sharpeners. They're the ones that I use when my knives need to be touched up. And they also make the knife that I've been carrying lately, which is their RMX. They restocked all of the versions of it that they stock regularly, so none of the Reserve series. Those were in stock the last I checked, but they also do drops every single Monday at 10 a.m. PST. I also have to thank bigidesign. You probably know them for their titanium pocket tools and some of the knives they've been coming out with lately, like the Tonto Lookout and the Manu, which is on Kickstarter right now. But also, if you backed this on Kickstarter, this is the bolt action marker. So it's a Sharpie that is a bolt action. If you back the Kickstarter, yours should be on your way. But if not, you can buy one on their website. You can use coupon code BDEDC for 10% off. I also want to thank Nitto Tire. I've been using Nitto tires for years now. I have TerraGrappler G3s on my Raptor, and I just got some Ridge Grapplers on my Bison. But the TerraGrapplers have been amazing. They're an all-weather, all-terrain tire. It snowed here a few weeks ago, and they were great in the snow. They've been great on the highway and very little road noise, which I definitely appreciate. So if you need new tires, go check out the TerraGrappler G3 and check out Nitto. There's a link in the description down below. All right, back to the video. And now let's talk about this. This is from a company called Sanctum, and it's called the Hard Bar. Now, it is a titanium pry bar. It also has a pry end over here, and this is a knife. Just a small little fixed blade, just enough for utility. It actually has a bottle opener right here and a pry end over here. And you have a pocket clip integrated into this pry bar. So you have several tools in one, in a very compact little package. I'm not the biggest fan of titanium as a material for pry bars. You also run the risk of dulling your blade by running it across this, although it is kind of upswept, so any point past here, it shouldn't be touching at all. A very cool design. Do I think this is solving any problems? No, but it's still the thought of somebody coming up with this idea, a pry bar as a sheath for a small fixed blade. I can already hear you guys talking about how absolutely useless this little fixed blade is, but for breaking down boxes, opening packages, which is, I'd say, probably 95% of the use case for most of us day to day with a knife, this is gonna get the job done. So it's less about this. This is a perfectly functional, tiny fixed blade. No qualms there. But do I need to carry a pry bar? Is this solving any problems? Not really. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I find it very cool. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. Not all of these things are gonna be total game changers. They're not gonna disrupt the industry really. I mean, some of them may. 3D printing will probably become much more prevalent over the next several years or decades. But this next one is, man, I wanna love it so bad. This is the BadFeather Knives Raider Creek, and this just arrived in my P.O. box one day. And I really thought, what a cool concept. It's just the execution isn't the best in the world. As a fixed blade like this right here, it's actually very comfortable to use. I like how it looks, I like the size. I like this. What I don't like is how it looks when it's sheathed. So you have your cam system, the way this works, you have your bar here, your tension bar here, and along the backside you have just a nut. It's like a custom nut that looks like a sprocket, and then you have your hex on the outside, and that nests inside this hole. The whole thing here is actually toolless. If you can get your fingernail in here, you can wiggle this, I'm gonna call it a keeper nut. Oh, I got it. Okay, so you can see there, and then this right here is what's keeping this tension. You can get this nut off. This little torsion bar comes out and the blade comes out. So it's actually a very, very simple design. There's only 6 pieces, right? If you count that magnet, you have the handle, magnet, blade. We're calling it the keeper nut, this custom nut, and then your torsion bar or tension bar. And I do like the idea. It's just the execution I don't love. So to put it back together, we just need to slide this back in. And then you have to actually tune it. You have to get it to the right amount of tension so that the cam works properly. So the way you would operate this, once you get it back together, push that bar out, give it a little jostle, your blade comes out, and you're gonna lock it down. And your hand is always gonna be pushing on that tension bar, keeping it tight anyway. So it really has no good way to work itself loose. It is truly a fixed blade. That is full tang, even though this is technically like you're moving parts. It's not a folder. It's kind of like an OTF fixed blade. The part I hate is this. And I don't love the finish, right? It's got this shiny finish. You can actually see laser water jet marks still on the edges. It just doesn't feel super premium or anything. I think the design of this could be a little bit better, but it is functional and it is a very clever idea. I do have to say though, this part is very satisfying. One thing about this knife I almost forgot to mention, but I really do like, is that you can pull the lever, slide this blade out, and you can select how much of it is exposed. So if you don't want to cut too deep into a box, you don't want to cut something inside the box, you could literally just have the very, very tip of this knife exposed, which is pretty cool and definitely unique. But it is one weird use case that probably wouldn't come up too often, but maybe you need a little more control and a smaller blade. You could do that with this. Then we also have this thing. This is the Pancea X FireFly, which is a tiny little survival knife I got at Georgia Bushcraft. And it stuck out to me for a number of reasons. One, this is machined from a solid piece of D2 steel. So you have a small drop point blade, a very, very tactile and grippy knurled handle. And then typically you wouldn't have this big red nodule on the end. It would actually be just continued. It would match the handle, but I did opt for what I think is called the fat bottom. The standard one is the same thing here. You unscrew the bottom of the handle and you have a ferro rod built in, but with this kind of upsized aftermarket piece that's still from Pancea X, you can unscrew another piece and you have a tinder plug. So you have a fire starter, fire starting material, and a knife all in one. And then also, you can turn this into a whistle also. It takes a little bit of practice to get it just right. And it's pretty loud too, but just to show you how well it works, we'll start a quick fire here, if I can get this tinder plug out. Oh, there we go. This doesn't fit the typical mold for a survival knife by any stretch, but it is like a really handy tool, and it does kind of approach the whole situation from a totally different standpoint. The one piece of gear that actually made me think about this whole idea, sent me on this tangent, was something I saw on Instagram, and I literally insta-bought it. Not because I thought it was gonna be an amazing product, but it looked cool. I wanted to support a small maker doing something unique, and I just wanted to see how good it is. Sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, man, I wanna see that for myself. I wanna get hands-on. There's a lot of new gear that I just dismiss immediately because I'm a little bit cynical and a little bit jaded. Sorry, but it's just the truth. But there are certain things where I see it, I'm like, I need that. I insta-buy it because I want to get my hands on it and see what it's about. And this was one of those things. This is the Rolr Tool Co M1. This is the ST model. There is now an FR. It didn't exist when I bought this back in like mid-December. It also took a really long time to get here because I ordered it in mid-January, and then like a month later, Shane from Rolr Tool Co emailed me. He was like, hey, yours got lost in transit. So he sent me another one. This one's not the one I technically bought originally, but it did take a long time to get here. By the time mine arrived, about 3 days after I got it, he released a FR, which is full ring, which I would much prefer. I think it would make it much more usable. But this thing is just really cool. It's a pair of slip jaw pliers, right? Slip jaw pliers with, on this side, a T-handle 1/4 inch driver, and on this side, a flathead / pry. All in one, a very compact package. So you're basically getting these 3 things in one small compact package. I do think this is more usable and more valuable than this right here. Just my opinion. I haven't actually really used this thing a whole lot. I've been doing a lot of other stuff, and I do have my concerns. One, the first thing I noticed is that these tools are actually just held in place with magnets. You can see a magnet right there and a magnet on the back side of the tool, and this one is the same way. There's just 2 magnets holding these closed, and there's nothing holding them open. So there's no detent or anything to hold them open. So when you are using this, you are going to have to be using your finger or something to keep these tools out. That's the first concern. My most prominent concern actually is the steel that these are made out of. It's 303 stainless, which in and of itself isn't that bad, but traditionally 303 isn't hardened, and these are not hardened. I don't know if Shane has a plan on hardening these or to use a different steel in due time. The problem with them not being hardened is that in time, these will mar and distort and deform when you're working with hard materials. These, hardened. These are not. We'll call it kind of on the suspect list. I would really love for these to be great, and I hope in time that Shane evolves and develops and makes these things really great, because the concept is really, really cool. It's what drew me in and drew a lot of you in. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I am rooting for Rolr Tool Co and companies like them, UG Tools, all these things I showed you today. You could probably actually say that some of those things are gimmicks. I don't necessarily think a gimmick is a bad thing. It has a negative connotation because people give it that. A gimmick is something that gets your attention. If there's something behind the thing that gets your attention, that means it's good. Those are the things that get me excited, is somebody just taking a concept and turning it on its head, trying to improve something that's been made the same way for 20, 30 years. And I think I lost my way on that years ago. I started getting swept up into, like many of you, I definitely did too, into the new, just this never-ending new product cycle that seems to be accelerating, just more and more and more and more. And I got swept up into that, and I definitely got very jaded and cynical about a lot of it. But I've definitely found the stuff that makes me happy and gets me excited about EDC and all of these things again. And it's not necessarily this alone, but it's things like this. People thinking outside the box, coming up with solutions to problems, and flipping an idea or a design on its head to make it better years later. Like, that's the stuff I get super excited about. If you feel fatigued by all these new products, look for the thing that you actually get excited about. Because when I go to somewhere like Blade Show, people are talking to me about specifications. Look at my new knife design, and this thing has Magnum Max and blah, 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 blah. I don't care about blade steels or HRC or basically any of that anymore. I can't care. I just can't make myself care. But there are things that I just can't get over how cool they are. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about this knife, or even the RMX, this knife right here. I have carried the absolute crap out of this knife. So there are definitely things that I get super interested in, and I want to dig into why that is. This is definitely greater than the sum of its parts, and that's the sort of thing I need to really dig into and figure out what it is about this. Why do I love this so much when there are 50, 60 new knives that come out or more every single month? What is your favorite thing that I showed you in this video? And also, is there something that kind of hits you like this did me, that stopped you in your tracks and you're like, I need that thing. I need it right now. Tell me about those things in the comments down below. That's it. I will see you guys in the next video very, very soon, actually. Thankfully, we're back. We are back. And I hope you like the new shop. It's not finished, but we're getting there. It's a little bit messy. We still got to get stuff up on the walls. There's a lot of trash and stuff over there, but hey, we're almost there. But I am back, and I cannot wait to show you some of the stuff we're going to do in here. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys later. And until then, carry on.